It's the Go Gopher Podcast with Mike Grimm, episode number 125. I am Mike Grimm, voice of the Golden Gophers, and welcome back to the podcast. We're talking Golden Gopher basketball, Golden Gopher hockey, women's professional hockey, and so much more today. It's my pleasure to welcome back a pair of return guests to the Go Gopher Podcast. Taylor Heise, former Gopher women's hockey player and current Team Minnesota standout in the PWHL, and she's joined by Parker Fox from Gopher men's basketball, a current Gopher. They've each been on this podcast multiple times before, but never together. And folks, you're in for a special treat, so stick around. Our Go Gopher Podcast is presented by alumni-owned Sunbelt Business Advisors and True North Mergers and Acquisitions. If you're a business founder planning to exit your business, start by contacting Sunbelt Business Advisors and True North Mergers and Acquisitions. Sunbelt serves more businesses up to $5 million in revenue than anyone, and True North M&A serves companies with revenues up to $150 million. You can get a confidential, no-cost, no-obligation business valuation started today. Hey, make the most of your life's work. Visit sunbeltminnesota.com or tnma.com today. Affinity Plus Federal Credit Union is also a big sponsor of our Go Gopher Podcast. Life math is complicated, and Affinity Plus Federal Credit Union makes it easier with local financial experts available to help in person or virtually. You should go to affinityplus.org/Go Gophers for more info. We're podcasting episode 125 from the Aquarius Home Services studio. We invite you to subscribe to the Go Gopher Podcast. It's free to do so. You can also go back and listen to previous Go Gopher Podcast. Last episode, for example, we had a terrific conversation with new Golden Gopher head baseball coach Ty McDevitt. Go back and have a listen and find out why I think Gopher baseball is in great hands. This week, we have Gopher royalty with us, Taylor Heise and Parker Fox in studio, and joining me next on the Go Gopher Podcast, episode 125.
I'm Clay Geary, walk-on turned scholarship wide receiver for Gopher football.
And I'm Ben Utek, U of M alumni, Super Bowl champion, and Tony Dungy Uncommon Award winner.
We understand championship culture, which is why we're part of the True North family of companies.
True North invests in only elite teams, like the champion team at Sunbelt Business Advisors, Minnesota's largest seller of companies. To learn more about True North and our diverse family of independently owned companies, visit TrueNorthEquityPartners.com.
Beta Bay Boat Club offers a limited number of season-long memberships in our private club and half-day or full-day pontoon boat rentals on Lake Minnetonka. Members have the opportunity to play on luxurious pontoon boats, as well as a variety of well-appointed deck boats, speedboats, and offshore boats. Our daily pontoon boats are deluxe, custom-built boats with many amenities and comfortable seating for up to 14 people. Beta Bay Boat Club, Country Club Boating, 24 years in business, and voted Minnesota's best 3 years in a row. Please visit us at betabayboatclub.com for more information. We look forward to welcoming you this summer.
It's episode number 125 of the Go Gopher Podcast. We have some return guests who have been on this show multiple times, both separately, but not together. This is a first for this. We have Parker Fox, current Gopher on the men's basketball team. Parker, good to see you.
Good to see you, too.
Hello. A long time no see. We golfed out at the Gopher Radio Network deal this morning.
Yep.
And you were in with a nice group.
Yeah, second time running Indy out on the course here in these scrambles.
Yeah.
It's we're living a good life, Grim.
Can't complain. Can't complain. I wish my golf game was better.
You look good out there.
But we try. And former Gopher, but once a Gopher, always a Gopher, Taylor Heise. I guess, is it a world champion? What do we call this? PWHL championship. I mean, it's North America for sure. You got Canada and the U.S. I mean, there are world championships out there too, so I don't know how, well, you just call yourself a champ?
Just a champ. I feel like a champ is the right word to put it, and I guess because I'm a world champion in Team USA and then world champion here, so I guess it's very similar. But.
Yeah, and we had you on after you won the world championship in Canada. Was that a little over a year ago at
Correct.
the time or so? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's the last time you've been on. And we had you on Gopher Talk a few times. I remember you sitting in your driveway during COVID.
Oh, that was during COVID.
Yeah, and that's how the Gopher Talk all started, was way back when. It was like, we got to keep people connected with the Gophers because they can't come watch them in person. So you were on a picnic table, I think.
I was on my ping pong table, actually. I remember set up my computer there.
Ping pong. Yeah. Beer pong.
Uh-oh.
Not at my house, ping pong. But I remember I had the background was like my dad was landscaping in the back, and it was Classic.
Yeah, that was those were the days, the good old pandemic days. Parker's been on a couple of times as well. Your most recent visit was in the basketball season, and at that time you told me on the podcast, not even off the record, that you were probably leaning toward being done.
Yeah.
And here we are a few months later, not done at all, if nothing else, more active than ever.
Yeah, back at it. No, I think even, I participated in senior night, which was actually second to last game of the year for us. We had a Wednesday game. They wanted to do a senior night on Saturday, so be it. But that was a Penn State game. And even at that point, I was done. If you could probably hear it in my speech, I'm an emotional guy. I got emotional a little bit. So, no, even at that point, I thought I was done. But then, just kind of decompressing after the year, going on a couple of vacations. I went to Cancun. I went to the Final Four in Phoenix. And then I went out and watched Taylor in Utica in the World Championships, and just stayed around the phone, took texts and calls from Ben, Coach Johnson all the time. And just made it known that he wanted me back. And we ended up having some good conversations, and we found, some common ground of where I wanted to be at, just coming back for another year. And here we are.
Here you are, ready to roll.
No doubt.
Was there what I know you? I'm going to say your last 12 games is special. Like in just watching, you hadn't played in 2 years, so you're getting your legs under you early. You flashed many times, and then it became a consistent deal, and then you kind of became the instant guy off the bench providing energy, and then you're making game-winning steals in NIT games and all this stuff. Did that strong finish also impact your thoughts on if you wanted to go one more year?
Yeah, no doubt. I think, the game at Nebraska was the first time I ever even mentioned it to actually assistant coach Dave Thorson. I was like, I could maybe do this another year, and I think, like you said, that gave me a lot of, extra motivation. Even at the beginning of the year, whether it, wasn't playing as much, but also I wasn't as confident in my body yet, getting back into it. I hadn't played in 900 plus days. So, it takes some time, but no, you're right. Having that stretch down the stretch and realizing hey, I'm here for a reason. I can still, impact the game at a high level like I had before. It might not be at that, all-American type of level again, but still there's so many ways you can star in your role. And that was a thing that I noticed. I'm playing this 6-man right now role, and I'm embracing it, and I'm loving it, and the coaches trust me in it. So a lot of games down the stretch, I was the one in there, and having that success and being able to kind of flourish in that role made me kind of realize hey, this is a possibility.
Yeah. Now, as we talk, you just finished practice. We're middle of June. Summer school just started. Do you even have to take classes at this point?
No,
I didn't think you. I mean, you will when the fall comes. You'll have to at least take a couple to be eligible.
Yeah.
But in the summer, you're good. You've got enough studying done in your life.
I got golf to play, man.
You got golf to play, but you do have practice.
Yes.
So you have your knees wrapped in ice. So how much, as an old man, now does it take to get ready? For even a practice, and then after practice, and do you? And this is going to be a long question, but do you foresee at the end of this year that's it in basketball because of your knees, or do you see, hey, I got to give something a try, whether it's playing overseas or a G League, or who knows what this season will lead to, or do you know yet?
Yeah, to answer your first question, it takes me a while. I'm always up in the weight room a half hour before everybody else. Just we got a new strength coach, Jimmy Stitz. He's getting me right, getting my body moving, and then when it comes to practice, usually about an hour and a half before, getting heat on, doing some ultrasound, getting the body moving, and then listen to our athletic trainer Ryan Dotson, whatever he's got for me that day. Just a lot of movements, a lot of heating up the joints and the tissues and the tendons. So yeah, that's important. And then practice wise, it's nothing too crazy for me, especially right now. We're just we got these young freshmen coming in, and we're just kind of getting them integrated. Teaching them what we do defensively, teaching them what our motion looks like. Different shooting drills we run. All the little stuff that you need to learn as a freshman. And with transfers as well. They weren't a part of it either, but they played college basketball, so they get it at another level. But so yeah, that's kind of what practice looks like. And then in terms of that question, it's hard to tell. I before the injuries, I would have told myself, I want to play a 15-year professional career. I want to pursue the NBA route, and if that doesn't work, go overseas, go to a bunch of random countries, play good basketball. But now I'm pretty real with myself. I've always been a kind of self-assessing kind of person and know that it's not a whole lot left. Like, I'd love to say that I can, give it a run and, try to go work out for some teams and, try to make a G League roster overseas. But I'm really just trying to play it by ear. And I know that kind of sounds cliche, but it's true, because I don't know what tomorrow looks like when it comes to waking up and with my knees and everything. But I would say realistically that there's no more than 2-3 years left in my body. But, that is what it is. And, I'm just looking to make the most of it here and, doing one more year at the Ghosts, and then we'll see where it goes from there.
It'd be transforming into a media guy. I mean, you're already getting some of that. You're on the air all the time. You were in with the Timberwolves post-game show on KFAN, you and Max. I had a chance to listen to some of that. It was really good. And then regular appearances now coming up. I know you have planned. And Taylor, he can talk.
He sure can.
Talk, so he's pretty good at this stuff.
No, he enjoys it, and it's definitely fun to listen and watch him thrive in that atmosphere, because obviously, like he said, like, he's been through a lot, and to be able to put your perspective on different things the way that he does is special.
Yeah, and you can talk.
Sure can.
I watched the draft the other night, and they brought you up on to the stage, and you were chatting about that. What'd you think of the draft? Your new play. It's interesting because it's only 6 teams, and there's limited number of slots, and so now year 2 you add some competition, and there's roster spots on the line for certain players and all that stuff. So it's a new experience probably.
Yeah, it is. I think comparing the first draft to the second draft, obviously had a lot less pressure this time around. But the first one was super special, and I wouldn't have given that up for anything, to have my parents there and have all my friends and family watching me from home. That one was a bit more thrown together, I think, obviously, because our league came about so quickly. But the second one was really cool since it was in Minnesota. Parker actually got to show up. He got to show some face there, got some pictures on the purple carpet. But it was just super fun to see and react to. I have a bunch of friends that were in this draft, and seeing their friends and family just like waiting anxiously, and you can feel that in your heart. Like, you can kind of see it and feel it, which is super special. And having it being Minnesota, have all of our fans up in the peanut gallery making their comments about different things. But yeah, it's going to be a special year, considering we, obviously came off winning, but we can definitely get better in all assets of things. Talked to a lot of my teammates. There's going to be obviously a training camp and a tryout. Doesn't mean that girls on 1 year since we won are going to be signed back. So, and now that we have 6 girls from the draft, is really cool. I would say, like, I think I know 4 of them really well. The other 2 I don't know as well, but obviously going to get to know them. And it's going to be special to see, just like the WNBA, like, not everyone's going to make an opening night roster. And to say that that's our reality now as a league is pretty cool.
Right. And now it's a full-time job for some in the league, not all. Is that your deal now? Are you hockey?
Yep.
So what's your typical day look like now that the season's over?
Yeah. I had to take a little bit more time off this time around. I think, obviously, with the physicality of the league, my body went through it a little bit this year. Yep. I had a shoulder injury that kept me out for about a month and a half, AC separation, AC joint sprain, and then just kind of my back. I think that coming back from it and winning and everything, it's been really weird the last 2 weeks. I can't lie. I went to Florida with my mom and just kind of recently been just like hanging out. It's been great weather. So hanging out by my pool in my apartment and stuff. But a normal day now for me, I'll get up, go do some movement stuff in the gym, do a little thing in the morning, eat my breakfast. He knows I eat a lot, and I'm a big breakfast gal, so I always have that. Go on take walks every day, and then just relax. I'm, unlike him, still in school. Yeah. My last master's class is this summer, so I'll have graduated and have my master's after, I think, July 25th. Yeah. So it'll be cool. I'll have that done. I'm kind of schooled out too. Just not being in school and having to kind of continue is interesting, but it's an interesting course that I'm in, and I'm just excited to be kind of over with that and then kind of see what's next. But in season, our season looked kind of different every day, but our times were normally, we're at the rink about 10:30 to 3:30. Training camp was 9 to 4, long time. You're there all the time. But season, we have practice. We either have lift or movements before and after, and then I'm in the training room doing all that just like him, and then we have our meals, and then you go home and you just kind of get to rest because you're tired.
You mentioned the physicality of the league. I remember you were on one of the times you were on this podcast, you talked about, because I was amazed at how you were able to possess the puck for long periods of time with the Gophers, right? You spin in, you look like Curly Neal of the Globetrotters, just dribbling back and forth, but it was with a hockey puck. And you commented at the time that it was because, if I remember right, there's not they don't allow hip checking. They don't allow a lot of physical play, so you're able to do that. Is it a little different now in the PWHL? I mean, I watched a lot of games. You still are able to control it. Maybe not quite like you did with the Gophers, but it's more physical.
Oh, yeah. I think anyone that's watched our game could really tell you that that's exactly how it is. And honestly, it got out of hand sometimes, and that was clear. I was usually a target of that, which is fine. That just kind of gives you a pat on the back that people are paying attention to your play. Gophers obviously had a lot more time. A lot of times in the WCHA and in college, there was a lot of interference penalties and a lot of tripping and anything. Anytime you slowed anyone down, you're going to the box. In our league, that's not the case. I could have gotten blown up in the middle of the ice, and they would have gone on and scored, and nothing would have happened. So it's kind of finding that medium of allowing physicality, but not in the middle of the ice. From what I know from our CBA and from our rules is that you aren't supposed to hit mid-ice, and you're not supposed to be able to, if you go into someone else's space and you get blown up, that's on you. But if you're skating and someone comes into your space, then they'll get a penalty, which is interesting because it didn't end up being like that, but the physicality is crazy. And to have, that's something that I want to focus on this summer is the puck possession and getting out of physical situations and moving my feet out of them because there's so much contact. And that's a way that girls who aren't as talented are able to stay in the league and participate simply because that they can hit and they can slow you down. So that's kind of something I've been thinking of continuing to work on.
Yeah, it's probably not to the level of the NHL where guys are throwing punches, but there is a physicality that you probably didn't experience certainly in high school and not in college either.
Absolutely not. And there's no way to get used to it. I think some girls from Sweden this year who are going to be in our league who have played in the past, who we're checking and everything is legal over there. I think they're going to have a leg up, and I'm excited to see how that translates. But yeah, the physicality of it is crazy. Not only does it kind of do your body in interesting ways, but I think coming from high school and college and having limited contact, I had enough where I'm used to it. I'm just lucky that I'm built a certain way and then I'm able to take it, because I know a lot of girls where they were super, successful in college, and it's just going to be up for debate for our league because it's totally different.
Right. Okay, so we're 14 minutes into the podcast. There might be some people who don't follow things that closely, like, why are these two people on this show? So I don't want together. So I don't want to make it awkward or anything, but I mean, it's not a secret anymore. No. Maybe it was for a minute. You guys are an item.
Yes.
You're a couple. You're dating. You're hanging out. You're traveling to Boston to watch her win championships, and you're probably, I don't know how your schedule is allowing.
I made it to a good amount of games.
Get to some games, and not to go down. We're not TMZ here, but how did this all start? How did you guys get connected to where it clicked and you've got this, beautiful budding love going on here?
You want me to go? Okay. We met a few years ago, actually in the backyard of my college house. Tree houses. It's right down the road from here. And we were just a football game day. And I think one of my friends who played on the team at the time, brought the whole basketball team in the backyard. And I've always told him, I was actually on the phone with my dad, who I call every day. And I go, you'll never believe who just walked in our backyard. And I go, I think this is the entire basketball team. And he goes, why are they there? And I go, I don't know. And then I started naming off names, and because I'm obviously have two brothers that play college basketball, and I'm
and your dad played college,
and my dad and my mom did too.
Which
so
probably was impressive that you were telling him that the hoops team showed up.
Yeah, so he was like, oh, interesting. So that's how we met, and then we're friends for a long time, and I don't know, it just kind of spiraled from there, I guess. But
yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
I think after I tore my second ACL, I just remember we were kind of just friends at the time and hanging out, and then just kind of told her, I was like, hey, like we should take this to the next step, and it worked out, and now we're moving into a house together here coming up.
My goodness,
in July.
That is the next step.
It's adulting.
Right,
it's real life. So
lots of costs coming at me right now.
It's exciting. It's fun. It's I think when you find somebody that's so similar to you and just like your approach, especially you talk about sports and obviously you have that mindset, but just like the competition and then the way that you approach life is just when you meet somebody that does it at such a high level like you do it, you kind of click. And I think it's so natural for us to just want to spend so much time together because like we just truly, it's just easy. So it's a lot of fun, and we're excited to move in and, get that next step going. So it's awesome.
Well, and I think people who maybe first heard it are like, well, that's interesting. A hockey player and a basketball player, that isn't always the mix, but Taylor's got so much basketball in the background that it isn't as weird's not the right word, but it isn't as unlikely as maybe you think, right?
No, I would agree. I think a lot of my friends who either been on my team before, who know him very well, they didn't think it was weird for them, like going to basketball games as much as I want to drag them there. It's not always going to be a win-win in a hit situation for them. But, I try my best. They'd always come to support him and do whatever. And we'd watch games whenever they're away. We'll watch them on the TV. But it's definitely not weird for me. I've watched basketball my whole life. I've played. Not to say I'm great by any sense, but I can shoot. That's how I would warm up for my PWHL games in the bottom of the XL. Yeah. There was a hoop down there, and I would shoot. Most of my friends would play soccer or something, but you would find me down there shooting hoops. So, it's definitely not out of my comfort zone.
If you had not gotten on skates, and I forget the store, was it your neighbor or something?
It was someone in my town, and they he had gone and played college hockey, and his son was in my grade. So he's like, I want to start like a league a little bit. And we just had an outdoor rink, so it just kind of got thrown at me, and I just decided that was kind of something I wanted to try.
And all of a sudden you were good.
Here we are. I wasn't good right away. My mom tells a story. She said that I thought I was the best one out there, but I was probably the worst. And that's to say no one else had played before either. Yeah. So
your parents played hoops. Your one brother's at Iowa State now?
Yep, just transferred to Iowa State. He's having a good time. In Upper Iowa, yep.
If you had just played hoops, the guy had never started a team, do you think you'd have been a college player?
Well, as much as I want to say so, yeah, I just feel like the drive that I have to be the best at what I'm doing is pretty high, but you just never know. I would have, if I would have played basketball, I would have loved to play with Caitlin Clark. That's where I would have hopefully ended up. But no, I you never know, and obviously you thank God that he put you in the right spot and put me where I'm at, and I'm just grateful to be, here and playing the sport that I love at the end of the day.
Yeah, we might have never heard of Caitlin Clark.
Right.
I don't know.
Might have had her scholarship. Who knows, right? There you go. Well, did you follow? I think when you were on last time, you said you even a year ago you were a big Caitlin Clark fan.
Huge
right?
Caitlin Clark fan. Yeah. Yep. You can just see that she sees the game in a way that I feel like I see the game of hockey, and she makes plays that no one else makes. And obviously, she gets a little flack for being in the WNBA right now. It is what it is. But her in college was just so electric to watch, and to see the way that she brought not even women's basketball, women's sports, and just has escalated not only the respect factor, but just the way that people watch the game. It's changed. And for me, obviously, I watch as much as I can, but I love watching her highlights, and the way that she talks and the way that she handles herself in the media is the way that I want to handle myself in the media, and just the way that I can see it. But seeing boss-ass women compete is definitely a hobby of mine.
And it's been fun to watch the league now in general grow.
Yep.
And now you look at the professional women's hockey league, 6 teams now, 6 teams next year. Maybe it grows. I know is it Philly or what? Or Buffalo? I can't remember. Aren't there a couple of cities that have already publicly said they want to at some point add some teams, which would be great. But is a similar path, or at least can that give a blueprint to help grow women's hockey too?
It's actually funny because in my class, he's already taken the class too. It's sport finance, talking about single entity structures and organizations, and obviously that's how we started. Mark Walter, who owns the Dodgers as well, is our owner and single entity guy, and I actually got to meet him while we were in Boston for the final game, and he's really cool and obviously handles himself in an amazing way. And he came in and thanked us, and we were like, no, turn it around. Thank you. We wouldn't be here without him and Billie Jean King and a lot of the support that they've given us. But it's definitely interesting. Obviously, if he wants to make his money back, that's when you start selling teams off, and that creates obviously more of a competitive factor, and you can the wage gap and everything can start to kind of structure itself out. But I just think that with how much support we had this year, I think that the sky's the limit for us, but also you don't want to send it too quick. So I think for us, obviously the Olympics is in 2026. There's been a lot of girls that this has been what they've wanted to do forever, and it's just now coming at the end of their career, and it's just not going to be the end all for them. So I think for us, I don't see an expansion for 2 to 3 years. Yep. Maybe after the Olympics. Obviously, you don't want to take the competition factor we have right now and kind of loosen it up a little bit. Next year's going to be really tough to score. For scores in the league, it's going to be hard. But like I said, I'm just excited to be a part of it and to see it's a way to get better as a player and as a team.
Yeah, and now to have it allowing you guys to have this is all you have to worry about is hockey. Yeah. Where I think even some like the Olympic athletes, you tell me, the Olympic athletes that was a full-time situation.
Yeah. So if you're an Olympic athlete, USA Hockey pays you, and so does the USOPC for your, training costs and everything. It was never a wage that you can really live off of. And, when you play professionally, certain people were making a lot. And that was in the past 3 years. I would say before that, top was like 10 grand. And then you take taxes away, and that's just,
right. So you almost need other stuff where now this part of this investment and what have you here is to allow this hockey to grow. And then you've got 6 teams, which means you've got, as you mentioned, scoring can get tough because you're literally the 6 or 10 best goalies in the world you're going against every night. Like the worst goalie in the league is probably the 6th or 8th or 10th best goalie in the world, right?
Or the best goalie in their country. That's where you got to look back on and just see, like, there's goalie from Czech, there's goalie from Sweden. We got some from all over. And not only that, but now you got the best defenders and you got the best forwards. But, I think it's going to be interesting to see how that goes and how people take that. And then also how the physicality changes. Because, when you're a really good player, like for me, for example, I'm down with the physicality, but I also want the puck on my stick. I'm not going to go out and try to hit you when I can try to get the puck back for myself. So I'm interested to see kind of how that works out. Because this year, say you're a 3rd or 4th line player, you kind of had to adopt your own style, and you had to figure out a way that you were going to impact the game to make sure that you would be back next year. And that's what we're very intrigued to see. I think training camp's going to be super fun. Definitely going to be less than a month. Last year, it was I guess this past year, I was like a month, and it was a really long time, and it was really hard. Like it was boot camp at the end of the day, being there from 9 to, it was a 9 to 5 at that point.
So your year in, I'm sure there are ups and downs. I think you even in that interview I saw the other night in the draft called it kind of a roller coaster season at times, ended on the high note of the roller coaster. Did the league in general though meet the expectations that you thought it would in terms of the experience and, travel and what it all presented for you guys?
I've definitely kind of talked about it in the sense of I didn't want to have expectations coming in. It wasn't my league. It was, the people that had put the time in and had gone through the bad morning times, but the bad, travel and everything that they had been through in other leagues. I just wanted to have fun and go out and be the player that I've always, thought that I am and think that I can continue to be better. But yeah, I think our league and our we'll start with the fans. They were awesome. They're amazing. For us, we're averaging during the week like 7,000, weekend 8 to 10, and then our best was 13 to 14. So, and then the XL, that feels pretty big. That feels like you're filling it up and doing it. Because obviously, I've been to a lot of Wild games. We've been to a few of them too, and it felt pretty similar. And to obviously, we're not always packing the top rows, but we had a lot of fans that even after games, I couldn't get out of there for like an hour and 15 minutes. My parents would meet me on the concourse, and there was 2 to 3 players who did signatures every game. We made sure everyone got through that. I would end up having my own line somehow, and kids would just start lining up. One would ask for a signature, and then the line would be all the way down the concourse. And my parents, I looked at them, I was like, I tell you this every time. It's going to happen every time. And I'm more than happy to do it if that means a little girl's going to have a dream later on and realize it's a reality. Travel-wise, since we're the only team in the Midwest, things did get a little funky sometimes, and we did have to wake up at 3 a.m. to do some things and travel and taking Air Canada and, another things. Obviously can't talk bad about them because they're our sponsor, but our bags wouldn't make it.
Sure.
And we would have to do Sprinter vans and not be able to practice the day before we got to a game because the Sprinter van hadn't gotten there. End of the season, we got a few charters, which was really cool. Was feeling like Caitlin Clark in the moment.
Right.
And, we did what we needed to do. And some of the best times I've had was those 3 a.m. wake ups with my team and us being on the bus, being delusional and just laughing about literally anything and staying in hotels and having paparazzi and people show up to the hotels and people wanting your signature and stuff. It's definitely was surreal for most of the year.
Yeah. And you're in Minnesota where hockey's pretty big. Yeah. Teams are in Canada where women's hockey's big as well. So that part of it is, I think structured for the league, right?
I would agree.
It's been pinpointed. And then from that standpoint, there was some turmoil. You can, I don't know what, if anything, you want or can say at the end. Obviously, there's been changes within the structure of your own team. So how do you as a player, I guess I'll ask it this way, how do you handle it? How big of a distraction? Do you talk about it with your teammates, with your family, or just keep it all in and not want to talk about it on the Go Gopher podcast.
I mean, I appreciate the way that you phrase that, because obviously I've gotten some questions that I can't really comment about. I would definitely say, and I talk to my parents about things before I put it out in the media. They know they're kind of my mediators when it comes to what I think I should and couldn't say. But biggest thing for me, I'm a hockey player. I love playing hockey, and that's what I'm going to continue to do. But you have to have a good support system in order to be successful. And I think for us, I enjoyed my year thoroughly, and I think anyone that was in the organization this year, whether they're there now or that they're not anymore, they did a really great job of keeping us stable, because this league got put together in such a short amount of time. Right. And, I'm just thankful to have been treated the right way and treated with respect. And, as a woman, not just as a hockey player, but as an athlete in itself, I've definitely been through the times where you're not respected and you're not put at the forefront and all those things. So this year was awesome. I do think that it'll be interesting the way that things roll out for me. I talk about a lot of that with my parents. I talk about it with him. And, just try to find ways to continue to be successful. I know that in order for me to be at my best, I need people to support me, like I said. So in order to do that, you got to be really friendly with the GM. You got to have, your coach on your back and your teammates. And we as a team, I feel like did a really good job of spending our time after we won together, enjoying our time, and now realizing we each got to go our separate ways, train, and then come back and know that we want to be at our best. Right. So I would say the biggest thing in that is I think there was some turmoil, and I think things were said in a very interesting way. But at the end of the day, all parties, I think I just want them to be happy, and I want them to have, things where they can say, I was a part of an inaugural season, and it was such a fun time. And just be happy with that, and just know that I, as a player, enjoyed every single person I worked with, and I'm excited to see what next year brings.
Very well said. Let me talk about a sponsor here quick, and then we'll get back to some hoops here with Parker Fox as well. Affinity Plus is your local federal credit union, proudly serving Minnesota since 1930. If you're a current Gopher student or a proud Gopher alum, you're eligible to join this financial that wants to build a meaningful banking relationship and put you first. You could meet with a local employee at any of their branches statewide, including right off campus in Minneapolis. To learn more or find other ways to connect, visit affinityplus.org/Go Gophers. That's affinityplus.org/Go Gophers. Affinity Plus Federal Credit Union, federally insured by NCUA, and a great supporter of Gopher athletics and the podcast. And Amber from Affinity golfed in our deal this morning, and it's always great to see Amber. She is a big hockey fan.
Love that.
She got to golf with Brock Faber, who was in that thing today, so she was on cloud nine.
People were asking me where's Taylor Heise? I was like, she didn't get the invite. She must not be cool enough.
Are you a good golfer?
I just started last year with him. So my dad's an insurance agent. I don't know why we didn't golf as kids. He just didn't. He must have been sick of it. Yeah. So CCM is one of my sponsors, and they got me a TaylorMade set, and we've golfed a few times. I'm sponsored by Waggle, which is what his hat has on, whatever. And we have a few things done, and I actually had to shoot with Brock Faber last week, which was super fun because he's definitely a better golfer than me. I'm not terrible, and maybe he can say other things, but I feel like I try really hard, and I listen. I actually listen.
Well, people would love golf. We got to get her on the list.
Yeah.
You put that out, you're going to get people calling and emailing for golf all the time now.
I definitely have some feelers out there, and I've had about 10 people ask to do some golf things, but I need to get on the course and lay it down a little bit first before that.
It's different than a slap shot. It's a little bit slower.
But hockey players are generally pretty good golfers.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I have friends that are insane, and then when I go with them, I just get nervous.
Yeah. Crazy. Yeah. All right. So Taylor had some basketball background. Parker, now you're going to hockey games, you're flying to Boston, you're doing this stuff. Did you grow up following hockey at all, or is this a new coming sport now for you to know what offsides is and know what those kind of things are?
Well, it's funny because everybody knows me as like the Gopher, growing up as a Gopher fan, having season tickets to basketball and football. But actually the first ever season tickets to me and my dad and my brother, and obviously my mom would come sometimes too, was Gopher hockey. And we were in section 1 right behind the net, and the most fond memories of just being with my dad was at Gopher hockey games and getting the Kemp's ice cream and having a sweatshirt on and all that kind of stuff. And actually the first ever Gopher hockey game I went to when I was a student here, I sent my dad a picture of, the ice cream on the rink, and it was actually kind of emotional because it was like full circle kind of deal. So super cool. But I definitely learned a lot more. I definitely watch a lot more. I don't think I would watch as much or every PWHL game that's, ever been aired. We watched a lot this year. I could probably name the rosters, down the list from Ottawa to Montreal to New York to Boston to, Toronto. And but I love it. I remember once we started dating, I brought my parents to a couple games, and my dad had always loved Gopher men's hockey, and we would, they kind of staggered perfectly where you can go watch like either 2 or 3, periods of the women and then go right over to the men's. And my mom just was like, I'd rather watch the women because it's, it's like you said, it's like she could skate around more. It was,
there is definitely more up and down,
you can just see the, a little bit more up and down, and it's like, it's so fun. And I found myself too, even after, she left last year, I would just go to the women's game, obviously with her sometimes, or by myself if like we got done with practice and there was a game going on. So growing up a Minnesotan, hockey's always in your blood. I lived a block from the outdoor rinks in Matamidi. Matamidi always had really good hockey teams, state tournament teams every year. So we were always in the XL Energy Center as a big student section. And I would drive my 4-wheeler down to the rinks on the weekends and order Domino's pizza, and all that fun stuff. And I was never great, but I love it. And we go to she got me, she's with CCM, so she got me some, a stick and hopefully some skates are on the way, but I can skate, I can shoot. I'm not the greatest, but it's fun. It's
how tall are you on skates?
I'm probably like Chara height, like 6'10" probably on skates. I think one of our new teammates here, Frank, was a hockey player his whole life.
Is that right?
Yeah. Frank Mitchell from Toronto, played hockey his whole life, and he's only been playing basketball for 4 or 5 years. So he's been
6'8". You got.
I know exactly. But he's been begging me. He's like, yo, you gotta. He said this thick Canadian. Yeah. Yo, you gotta text your girl, fam. We gotta get on the ice. And he's hilarious. That's awesome. Hopefully we can get him out there soon. But hockey's always been around. My mom got my brother a pair of like pads, like when he was super young, like 3 or 4 years old. But my dad would always make us say before we go to bed, he would always make us say basketball good, hockey bad. So he didn't want us playing hockey. He was a basketball guy, so it worked out.
You look at how much hockey costs for youth parents.
Yeah, right.
All these kids.
It's tough.
I would, hey, go buy a basketball and call it.
Yeah, we just
maybe
need
buy
some
some Air
sneakers.
Jordans.
Yeah, exactly.
But hockey. My nephew is, in fact, as we tape this, he's playing in the semifinals of the state lacrosse tournament.
Oh yeah,
broke his stick in the quarterfinals on Tuesday. So my sister-in-law had to drive to St. Cloud, $145 later for just the net part of it.
Yeah,
fine.
just the shaft. Yeah.
That's like a foot of metal.
That's like a quarter of what a hockey stick is too.
Do you have to pay for yours still?
No.
You get them free.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Because CCM is one of my main sponsors, and I'm working on a Paraline with them. I just did the FTW, so it's an all women's line, which is the first of its kind. I think other brands had tried it, but this one stuck. My face is on the tag of everything. Did some shoots. I do shoots with them every year. This year I might hopefully be doing it with Austin Matthews and Connor McDavid.
Ooh.
So we'll see what that looks like.
Wow.
And they're definitely my 2 favorites in the NHL. That's who we'll watch almost all the time.
Yeah, those guys are good. All right, so I may be 100% wrong on this, but I have spies in White Bear Lake that say, was your mom a speed skater or somebody in your family?
Yes, she was a speed skater.
But she never played hockey, or there was no hockey for girls at that time?
No hockey for girls at that time, but her and her brother were speed skaters, so they competed. They didn't quite, neither of them made the Olympics, but they were at Olympic trials, and Bonnie Blair kept beating my mom. That's a name everybody will know, but Grant Crookshake's mom, who used to play hockey here. So she was a speed skater. My uncle was a speed skater, so I showed her in my grandparents' basement in White Bear Lake. They basically have a shrine, which is like the size of this room with insane. Just a ridiculous amount of medals, and it seems that they won everything. So, she's got the skating in her blood. So I got the stride down a little bit, but it's a different muscle group. So you get out there and skate. It's like, this isn't basketball. It's something else is hurting when you wake up in the morning. That's for sure.
Well, so she was a good athlete. Did your dad play too? Hoops though?
Yeah, my dad played hoops through high school. Eventually he ended up becoming a principal. So basketball stopped pretty early, but he's a basketball guy through and through. He helps as an assistant or JV coach at my high school. But he loves the game. Like if you know him, he loves the game about as much as anybody. Coached me growing up and everything, football, basketball, soccer, all of it, me and my brother. So he loves sports. He's always around it. And there isn't a time he would ever say no to me going out in the backyard and him rebounding for me, shooting some hoops. So.
If I knew this, I forgot. Where did your brother end up?
He's at the Citadel now with Ed Conroy down in Charleston, South Carolina. So he's been down there for a couple weeks now, and he's loving Charleston. He's a kind of a high class kind of guy where he'll go and have some oysters and then play a really classy round of golf and then have an old fashioned after. So it's a perfect place for him.
Does he have to wear military uniforms?
He doesn't. Yeah, his grad transfers, they don't have to do any of the military stuff, which I think is kind of like a loophole for them recruiting wise, where they can say, hey, you could play somewhere for a couple of years and then grad transfer here, and now we can form a decent team.
So if I think I have my history right here, Citadel is one of the schools that's never made the NCAA tournament.
I think you're right.
So maybe your brother can get him to the promised land.
This is the time. As good a time as ever.
Why not?
No
exactly.
doubt.
That'd be pretty fun. So I was at the Indy 500 on Memorial Day weekend with my brother. I met him there, and we're down there, and there's a rain delay, so it goes late, and now the traffic is awful to get out, so the people, we park in their lawns, and they're like, you just got to sit here. Yeah. So I turn on Game 4. What else would I watch? Game 4 of the PWHL. Gosh. I'm in my car. I got my phone set up. We're watching it. My brother has no idea. He's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm watching this game. So you guys dominated the game.
Yeah.
Right? And then you get the you're skating in at 1,000,000 miles an hour. You get the game-winning assist. It's a home game, right? This place is going nuts.
Oh, yeah.
The gloves fly, the sticks fly. You think you've won it.
Yeah.
That does not happen very often, where then they pull the trapdoor on you. And so take me through that ride.
Yeah, we're the only team to have won Walter twice. We're the only team to have won him once, but twice now. It's a 50-50 deal. Obviously, we had played really well that game, and when it's 0-0, there's a lot of tension on the line. Not to say scoring and having it be 1-1 is any less, but having it go into one overtime, you're dead tired. We've gone to 5 games with Toronto. We've now gone to 4 games with Boston. Back to back, we played 10 games in 20 days. It's been a lot. And, we get back to the locker room after the first overtime, and we're like, oh, we're going to do this. Because we said we are not going back to Boston. Right. I don't want to go back there. It's in a bad part of where we're at. No one wants to fly there. Whatever. And then, obviously, we come to the second overtime, and everyone's tired. You can tell he's in the stands probably hating his life at that point.
My hips were hurting, man. Those extra energy seats are tight, man.
And then, obviously, I had been blown up in the middle of the ice like multiple times. That game had gotten out of hand. I was getting tackled. The refs were letting things go. So I was like, maybe I'll drive wide. A mixture of losing an edge, a mixture of getting hit a little bit, and just wanting to get myself to the net. Kind of created an interesting situation. I touched the goalie a little bit. Honestly, what I said, I love her. Erin Frankel is one of my buddies. I told her, I said, honestly,
holy cow, how good was she in that game?
Amazing. They call her the Green Monster for a reason. And I was just with her at the draft, and I was talking to her. I go, honestly, I thought I helped you almost make a save. Yeah. Like, you would have been on the wrong side of the net. I pushed you toward it,
the save.
And it still somehow went in. But no, end of the day, I knew it. We had already thrown the gloves, and when they called it a goal on the ice, that's when you know it has to be like 100% to overturn it. And I go, we're home. These refs might be on our side. They might do it. Throw in the gloves, everything. Our reserves, who didn't play in the game, got dressed, got on the ice, skated out towards us. I'm sitting there, my best friend, Abby Breen, was like, what do you think? And I'm like, 50-50.
So you're even as it happened, you were wondering.
There's a gif of me like going like this, like hands on my mouth. I'm like, just do it. Just do it. Just do it for us right now. Just say goal and we're done. And our fans would have gone psycho. And, they took it back. And in sports everywhere, Boston's scoring. And that's exactly what happened. I wasn't even playing with my right gloves, by the way. We couldn't find the right gloves. No one could. I had my stick because it's got my name on it, helmet because it's got your number on it. But everything was wet. If we had taken a time and they would have done a ZAM, which I personally think is how it should go, especially if you're going to try to ruin someone's season there, that's the way to do it.
You're saying you couldn't find your gloves after the celebration?
No, I was playing it. I played with other people's gloves the rest of the game.
Yeah, after the
you had
your own gloves up until the celebration. I got you.
Yes, and if they would have taken a ZAM and we would have gone into our locker room, I think we would have won that game.
Yeah,
we just didn't. Our hopes were shattered, and then they come back and score 5 minutes later.
That's hard to come back from that, right? I mean, you're just trapdoor falls on you, and then they punch one in.
Yeah.
So now you really got to get up off the mat. So what was the mindset going back out to Lowell?
Yeah, it was interesting because after the game, our fans are crazy, and I love them for it. They were throwing beer cans. They were throwing anything on the ice. It was crazy, and I'm sure the refs got a detail going out of the rink, and I put no blame on them. Sometimes when there's no rules and there's not a way to structure it, you just got to let it go. We got back in the locker room. Our captain joked, which she's not a jokester, so it was very interesting. She goes, well, I guess we're going back to Boston. And all of us were like, but at the end of the day, we knew if we gave them hell like we did that last game, we were going to be just fine. And in game 5, I thought we did really well. We came out strong, and we kind of just took their push. They had 10 minutes, and that was it. And then we kind of were able to finish the rest of the game.
I watched that game too. I thought that game could have been 7-0.
Yeah, it was.
You guys dominated that game. Yeah. She made some good saves.
Big saves,
There's some bad luck on some of the shots that were almost in.
There.
And what was it, 3-0? Ended up 3-0?
Correct, with an open net, so 3-0,
The shots were like 40 to 10.
At one point it was like 40 to 14 or something. Yeah. So it was definitely the team that played the better hockey in that series won, which was good justice after you thought you had won the week before.
Yeah.
And man, that I remember thinking, I'm like, I don't know, maybe it's happened before, but you think about a team that This isn't like you win a Tuesday night in Ottawa. On a regular season game and it's overturned. This is for the world.
This is throwing your gloves.
This is the league championship. Where you're skating around a cellar. So you're in the stands, Parker. So what is there? You're going nuts, or did you also think, was there too much of a collision there?
Yeah, and Chad Abbott, K-Fan producer, is like right behind me. So he got like the most amazing picture of me and her parents like celebrating, like big group hug. Her brother's there. I was sitting next to her grandparents. You know, all the friends of Lake City were there. We were all hugging and excited, and it happened fast. And then right away we were on our Delta apps, and we were like, let's book a trip. We're on Google Flights trying to figure out how we're going to get to Boston. So we made that work, got out to Boston, and it was a quick trip. I think because we were out partying until like 2 a.m. with the team, quick. And then I had my alarm buzzed me at 5 a.m. for my 7 a.m. flight, and then I had 18 to play up at TPC right as I landed.
Geez.
So rough life,
super rough. I know.
But no, it was one of the most cool experiences watching her win a championship. Obviously, win an MVP. Just tremendously proud, and it was a cool time. We got some awesome pictures. We drank a bunch of champagne. We had poured this champagne in the cup and all that fun stuff. So definitely a memory that you'll remember for a long time. Obviously, she'll remember it, but I get to share it with her is really special.
So there was, I don't know if it's controversy. There's discussion on whether you guys are going to be able to each get the Walter Cup for a day, and
I heard no.
That's what I read. No, but then there's been a push now by some. We can push it here on the Go.
Yeah, I want to push it. Lake City needs Walter.
Yes. Why would they not? I don't understand.
And I'm doing something with the city of Lake City about like a certain day of celebrations, and that would be like a perfect day to bring it because everyone will be there and my family will be there. But I might have to ask a few sources.
You think about a chance to continue to grow the sport and create interest, and what better way than to let each of you guys take it somewhere to your hometown, but have it for a day or even two or whatever, and get it pictures and social media, and that's a way to grow. Why would we just want to keep that thing locked up?
I mean, it'd be great, and to see how many Minnesotans we have on our team, it would not be hard. We have a keeper of the cup. The cup goes back to the Hockey Hall of Fame in Toronto, but we had a security guard. Her name's Sheila. She's hilarious. She was with us everywhere. We went to the Lynx game. She's there with us at the Lynx game. We went to the Timberwolves game. We didn't have Walter there with us, but she would have been there if Walter was there. And very interesting, but it would be really, really cool. And I think, like you said, for the sport, it would really push us forward and help us to be, recognizable, and for everyone to see it. Then you believe it as much as people think.
Yeah, and you take it to Lake City, and there's 10-year-old girls that see that trophy, right? I mean, it's like you saying you stay and sign autographs. That one of those great stories about Caitlin Clark was the picture she has of Maya Moore, where she was, I don't know, what was she, 10 or 12, whatever, up here, drove up from Des Moines, got an autograph. Well, if Maya Moore hadn't signed that, Caitlin Clark probably still is Caitlin Clark, but there's no doubt that helped push her into, so I'm sure that's what you're thinking when that long line's there and your mom and dad are like, I got to sign these.
Yeah, and it's more so about accessibility. When you look at the NHL, obviously, you don't see Cale Makar and, all the big names of the NHL and coming out and doing those things. Right. They get their main parking's down below. We park in River Center. Like, we don't park. Some of us get to park below, but it's very rare. We park in River Center like everyone else, and I walk out of the game like everyone else. So I am probably one of the most accessible, female athletes right now with our team is, at least, because we're everywhere and all the time. And that's the biggest thing, is we want to create that accessibility factor for young girls who can see what we do, but also make it a reality for them. Because it never was for me. I didn't know what I was going to do. I knew I wanted to play nationally, but that was it. Like, there wasn't really like a way to think of what you're going to do. I thought college might be it at one point, which is crazy to think.
And now here you are, league champion, and
here we are.
All right, so I'm already over time, and I know you're coaching now.
I am.
Can you talk about that?
Yeah. Okay. I normally just do a few lessons with certain individual young girls in the summer, and I really like to see, how they can, exceed my expectations and how we can work on certain things. I watch their video. I get to do that, and I do lessons with them, and I have some really great families that I'm able to do that with. But right now I'm going up to the Blaine Super Rink and coaching some 14, 15-year-old girls. 3 of them I think are committed so far. There's a European who's really good who's going to be playing there too. So have never met them. I think I've met a few of them, but not a ton. I get to just go on the bench and kind of give my 2 cents and have a good time. My friend Abby Breen, who just got drafted to Montreal, she's going to come with me
I'm
as well.
still trying to understand how that rule worked because she played with you guys and then somehow's back in the draft.
Yeah, so she was a reserve, so she ended up having to be put back in the draft because she signed a compassionate waiver and it got accepted. And the only reason why she could play in Minnesota and only play in Minnesota is because of pharmacy school. So we're seeing how that's going. Potentially she'll be back the 27-24 standard is I hope is back at some point. But no, the coaching's fun. I don't know if coaching is in my future a ton, but I do enjoy it here and there, and that's what I'm going to go do right now. So
and you have to get going here. So let me ask Parker one quick question, then we'll get out of here.
No worries.
Practice started this week for you guys. There's Gopher fans listening, wondering how's it going. There's 7 new transfers, 2 new freshmen.
I think there's like 10.
Yeah.
Or 7 transfers, 2 freshmen. Yeah, you're right. Something like that.
So I mean, I have a list. We could go through the whole list, but Taylor's got a coach, so we can't do the whole list. So just give me a general sketch. 3 or 4 days in, how's everything looking?
Oh, it's great. Great locker room guys. Like I've mentioned before, and like everybody hears about Ben is, he's the man for the job. He recruits character. He recruits good guys. So locker rooms are always fun. Like we're already a close-knit group. We're already talking about what we're doing this weekend and trying to get on a boat, on a pontoon, on some sort of lake and give these guys a Minnesota experience. So if anybody's listening with a boat, let us know here. But no, it's we just got good guys. And I think, guys from winning programs, obviously, if you look at the way college athletics is going right now, especially in the basketball world, it's a lot of grad transfers. And that's what we brought in. We brought in a lot of guys, a lot of basketball experience. Obviously, Lukai Patterson is the point guard spot. It's going to be huge for us. Transfer from Charlotte, who's a Minnesota kid. You pair that with a freshman like Isaac Asuma coming in, who's going to be a really good player eventually. Obviously, as a freshman, it's tough, but takes some time. But, he's going to be a really good player. And then, I can go down the line with everybody, but just guys that have played a lot of basketball that know what they're doing out there. So practice in terms of that kind of stuff is easy. Now it's just integrating what we want to do as a team, what we want to be about. But no, it's exciting. I think having a guy like me and Dawson, obviously Mike too, but guys like that back, especially with me and Dawson being Minnesota guys and being able to just kind of set the standard of what we want to be about. Obviously, we're here for a reason. We want to, lay that brick and, be that foundation of where the, Gopher Hoops program goes in the future. It's both bigger than us. We could have, gone on and done other things and been successful with that, but we stayed here for a reason. And obviously, I'm not saying that to, have everybody, have us pat us on the back, but, it's about building this thing for us. And it's bigger than us. And we're hoping to see the program go to a really special place. So we're starting off great. It's been a lot of fun, and we have high hopes for the year. Just excited, man. Just excited to be back for one more year.
Well, you two guys are 2 of my all-time favorite Gophers, so thanks.
Thank you.
People are going to love this.
Oh, that means a lot.
This will be awesome. All right, well, that will do it. It's episode 125, Taylor Heise and Parker Fox. My thanks to Parker Fox and Taylor Heise. What a great show. This was one of my all-time favorites. Such great personalities, bright futures. We're lucky to have them here in Gold Country. Episode 125 is presented by Sunbelt Business Advisors and True North Mergers and Acquisitions. If you're buying or selling a business, visit sunbeltminnesota.com or tnma.com. We're also partnered with Affinity Plus Federal Credit Union, a locally member-owned full-service financial invested in you. You can learn more at affinityplus.org/Go Gophers. Again, I'd invite you to listen to past podcasts, and right now, click that subscribe button to the Go Gopher Podcast. It's free to subscribe and free to listen at any time. If you enjoy the podcast, please offer some positive feedback as well and share the link to the podcast with others so they can subscribe and listen as well. And we'll talk again next week.